Hi, it's Irina from irinapravet.com, and I recently made a video about why people struggle to learn Finnish. So in this video, I wanted to talk about this concept of Finnish through new eyes and what I mean when I talk about that and why it's so friggin' important. All right, so when I'm talking about Finnish through new eyes, I'm talking about a paradigm shift in the way that we approach learning Finnish. So in that video, I'll put a link below so you can watch it in case you didn't catch it. But basically, I explain that the reason that we struggle to learn Finnish is not like the subject matter, right? It's really about how we go about doing it. So this paradigm shift that I'm talking about, it's really about seeing Finnish as a skill and as a holistic process instead of just this subject. Finnish and no language was ever meant to be learned as a subject in school. Sorry, but it's not meant to stay that way. And any language teacher will tell you the same. They want you to go out, they want you to live the language, and that's really how things start to make more sense. Okay, so how do we do this? What is a kind of linear approach to learning compared to a holistic approach? So this linear approach is kind of how things go in school. You focus on the material, and the material is the main thing. Everyone is learning the same material, and it goes step by step, and it builds on each other, okay? And anyone who's kind of ping-ponged through a whole bunch of Finnish language courses or even ended up learning the same material over and over again knows that this approach doesn't really work. And there's really this growing frustration with a lot of people that I talk to related to this. And it's become kind of so epidemic in proportions that it's actually colored the entire perception of the Finnish language to the point where even native speakers will just parrot back at you how hard the language is. So I would argue that seeing Finnish through new eyes means leaving all of this behind, okay? So when we look at learning Finnish as a skill and as a holistic, we approach it in a holistic way. This means that, first of all, when we're looking at Finnish, we see that there are specific attributes to the language. Some are straightforward, some are more complex, so that's going to impact how we go about learning those. There are environmental attributes. What's it like to learn Finnish in Finland specifically? It's not the same as learning in Spain or Italy or Romania. You know, these languages are each learned in their native environments in different ways, so it's not the same thing. And also looking at repeatable processes, which are really important in Finnish because of the language attributes. So the grammar isn't just random, you have to really be able to build on it, okay? And the holistic process doesn't stop there, okay? So that was more something familiar, but then it also goes to you, okay? So I want to draw attention to the mental parts of learning, for some of us physical parts of learning, there are emotional parts of learning, and these all connect with our inherent birthright to adapt, okay? And as well as these are not just like fluffy words that I throw around. This is like biology, this is neurology. How do we learn? And how do we adapt, right? Because our experiences with this language are just like really, really, really important. So we can't just ignore those or remove them from the process of learning, as well as the beliefs that we have carried with us up until now. Some super helpful and some limiting our growth. So when we ignore those, that's usually when I see students just dropping out. You know, they'll sign up for a course, but they'll never go, or they'll start with a lot of motivation and it trickles down over time. Usually there are bigger things at work there. That's, you know, we need to look at you as an individual in this process and not just you with the material, and the material is the focus. Okay, so how do we get there, right? How do we adopt this new paradigm. And I've basically created a whole program called Finnish Through New Eyes to help you, take on this paradigm and run with it and use it and start, integrating Finnish into your life so that it's not a classroom experience, but that it's way more. It's an opportunity to learn at every step. So I'll walk you through the basic outline of my program, because in this way you'll be able to see, like, okay, are these things that I know about, that I'm using, or are there things that I don't know about? Okay, so the program is divided into 6 modules. And the first 2 are foundational. So these are just kind of like, let's get on the same page about this paradigm. Okay, the first one is really about, I call it Adaptation 101. So it's really about adopting a new perception, okay, of your abilities, like non-negotiable, your abilities as a human being with a brain who speaks language, and as well, what learning Finnish really means. So this whole process of adaptation, how does that unfold? Okay, and again, neurological, biological point of view when I talk about adaptation, not just fluffy words. We also want to consider reframing beliefs in light of this adaptation being your birthright. That's definitely not how most people talk about this. And I'll also, in the module, I teach you the single most important cognitive skill to actually allowing adaptation to unfold. Okay, so when you see this process through these new eyes, you'll actually see that things are like stacked in our favor. And I know I've definitely struggled with learning Finnish myself, so I know that it doesn't always feel like that. But trust me when I say that they are. So the second module is all about process through new eyes. So once we have this kind of understanding of how we learn language and why we can, then we look at the process, not in a linear way, there is a linear aspect to it, but we also see ourselves in this process. Where is it that I focus and what is it that I can ignore? And that gets really good when you have like realistic expectations about your level and you're able to be fully in that place, then you see progress so much faster because you can actually understand what is supportive, what's like an expectation to have, and what's a disempowering expectation, an unrealistic expectation, which I see people just like, most people have unrealistic expectations about how Finnish is learned. And that's where all the discouragement comes in. We don't see our experiences as feedback, but rather we just give up, or we start blaming ourselves, or we start blaming others, our teachers, for example, for not being able to match that to our expectations. And what's really important about this process is that it's for all levels. So once you get a feel for how it unfolds, it's not anymore about like beginner, intermediate, advanced, which I never really found helpful, because every time I talk to someone and they tell me I'm at this level, I honestly say, like, I don't know what that means. So, because everybody has a different spin on it. And I actually haven't really met anybody who's ever told me like I'm an advanced speaker of Finnish. It's just like you would be speaking Finnish, so yeah, and then there are the intermediates that are beginners, and then the beginners that are intermediates, so it's very confusing. All right, so then we have the last 4 modules are basically divided. So we have 2 that are all about processes. We have vocabulary and grammar through new eyes, and then the 2 which are all about environment, physical environment and social environment, okay? And if you look at these 4 together, you'll notice that the grammar and the vocab, these are all about the individual effort that we put in, whereas the physical and the social are more about collective participation. And I've mixed up these because people tend to think I have to do all of this work by myself before I go out into the world, but I want to challenge that and to get you really seeing how you can merge these and use them together to help aid yourself in learning the language. So Yeah, so there's a strategic point of view, there's a compassionate point of view where we're really looking at you as an individual and what are your needs because you live in a foreign country. So there's you have to manage your energy, you know, there it's not like you could just do everything all the time and expect to learn like huge aspects of material. We really want to be working towards consistent effort and also giving you the freedom to choose. How do you love to learn? You know, these can be such rewarding experiences that really build up your confidence. I know learning Finnish for me was like, whoa, like I did not know that I could do these things. And then it starts to get you thinking like, what else am I not aware of that I can do? All right, so basically when it comes to learning vocab, we're asking questions like, okay, how do I strategize the way that I learn vocab? And how is it that I can remember all of the words that I intend to learn? You know, what methods work for me? How do I make choices about the resources I use? And what can I totally ignore because it's just not relevant? And I see a lot of people also struggle with this aspect of making choices like between resources, between apps, between courses, and they're really all suited for slightly different needs. So when you understand your need, it's so much easier to make those decisions. Those decisions become like automatic. Okay, where are we? Fifth module is physical environment. So realizing that we are actually not separate from our environment, but rather we can identify current opportunities that we have. Most of us don't notice those opportunities because we're not looking for them, and then we can start to take advantage of them. So it's really a process of starting where you are and not like, now I have to reinvent my whole life all at once. And it has to be totally different. Like that's not what we're going after. Okay, that was module 4. Module 5 now is grammar. So how do I take a piece of grammar and then basically, you know, turn it into something I can remember and then something I can use or just go from you know, using it. So it's really important to understand how brains learn grammar, especially when you're learning Finnish, and also realize that there are shortcuts here, right? There's like cognitive understanding when you bring that to this. You know, there's lazy ways of learning grammar. Like I love grammar, but I don't study it if I don't need it. So, and even studying, I would use lightly because I have these lazy ways that I learn it because I understand how my brain actually absorbs it. And that's not really the same as how I like forced myself to study history or something. You know, these are different things because this is a skill. Okay, and finally, the 6th module is all about the social environment. So the people in our lives who speak Finnish and who we can speak Finnish with, and how our social relationships really hold the key to this like self-sustaining growth, and how we can use this in little like progressions at every level. So it's, I don't have to wait to speak fluently in order to start speaking. And so this is really one place where strategy is really important. Yeah, because we can use this, you know, need for human connection that we have. It's crazy. So yeah, so that's it. I've covered the six modules in the program that are basically all about shifting Finnish from this paradigm of seeing it as a school subject and something that you study, and bang your head against walls until you realize that this is not working, to seeing language as an integrated part of your life, as a holistic skill that considers all of you, and something that you definitely can do. And when people ask me like, well, why do I need the process? Why can't I just take the courses? You are welcome to take the courses. And if the courses are working for you, that's awesome. If they're not working for you, then I believe the missing link is understanding the process so you can integrate it in your life, make it more fun, make it feel good. Because that's, I mean, why learn something if it doesn't feel good, or do something if it doesn't feel good? And that's really the trick of how you learn. So this is how I've done it. And if you're interested, I can also share this with you now through my program, Finnish Through New Eyes. So I'll put a link below and see if you're interested. And even if not, hopefully this was a useful kind of introduction to the paradigm of Finnish through new eyes. And I'll see you next time. Bye.